In the mental health world, there's a term called mindfulness, and what mindfulness does is it grounds us to be more mindful of ourselves, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're doing, how we are in the moment. And I, of course, just through my training, have practiced mindfulness in many different ways of grounding myself to the here and now. And so what that enabled me to do is kind of understand a little bit more about myself. And I mean, other people probably know this, but I am a true extrovert. I do not like just being by myself all the time or anything like that. So when I was working from home, like my family was there. It was kind of a cool gig because at any point I could go out and see my wife and kid. But after about week 3 or so, it was tough to just even have any energy because I just wasn't around people to feed that. I wasn't able to do kind of the things in the community or just in the office or things like that that I actually enjoyed. And not only that I enjoyed, but I realized gave me energy. And so that was kind of hard. It was that got to where it was kind of hard. But a lot more calls, a lot more opportunities to connect with my family, both in my home and outside of my home. And so understanding, like, first of all, that we were all in this kind of pandemic together, and then even the social unrest, and now coming into political season, we're all in it together. Everybody's affected one way or another, whether we like it or not. All of us are affected. And so I think the realization of that was one thing. And then the other thing, being able to normalize these things with my friends and loved ones was pretty helpful in saying, hey, we all feel this. We're all going through this, not having to explain the feelings, even just being able to sit with friends and family and just being people. That really helped. And so I think what we have to be aware of is how we're feeling in the moment. We're all dealing with some element of loss. And not only loss as in we're done and we get to grieve it and try to grieve it appropriately. We're still in loss. This is the prolonged trauma that we're dealing with. It's heightened stress that we're dealing with, which our bodies and our brains are not designed for. And so understanding, when I talked about that mindfulness is understanding us, is understanding how we're feeling in that moment, and then having those coping mechanisms to deal with it. And so for me, most of the time, if I can watch or do something to do with basketball, I tend to get recharged. And then, of course, the other thing is being around people. When I get to be around people, I get to have that energy. I get to relate. I get to talk. I get to build those relationships even more. Whereas other people, that may not be their case. They may need to read books. They may need to take hikes or go for walks. They may need to play video games. They may need to do whatever. But it's just being mindful and being aware of our own bodies. And some of us may not be able to do that on our own, and that is okay. We may need help. We may need a loved one. We may need a counselor to help us recognize our own feelings. That's okay. We just have to find ways and make sure that we're doing those things to care for our own mental health and our own well-being. One of the things that we talk about here at Burrell is the second wave. And that second wave is the mental health piece of it, and how our mental health, it had deteriorated, it is likely to deteriorate due to the things I just explained a minute ago. And normalizing those types of conversations and those types of feelings will help us all out. The worst thing for us to do is internalize all of it and keep it internalized, because our bodies can only handle so much. And one way or another, we'll break. There's a song that says everybody has a breaking point. Now, that's talking about more about relationships, but we all do have a breaking point to where we will lose it. Whatever losing it looks like, we'll lose it. And that losing it will be a little less severe if we're taking times to have little mini lose it sessions or mini recharge sessions periodically, so we don't have to get to that point. I think that's what's important, is having those conversations, not being afraid to speak your truth to people, and then figuring out what we can do after that to maintain our own health.